One day I decided to change my oil, and look what I found. A milky substance that a lot of people talk about. Now this milky substance only means that the oil is being contaminated with coolant. So we'll have to go in and find out where the coolant is coming from. And in this CL55 AMG, most people would think that it's a blown head gasket, but it's not. Look at this mess. I tested my head gasket and it was fine, but then I found a problem. I'm going to show you what I found when I removed my water pump, because the problem lies with the water pump. Here's the water pump, and you have to be careful because there is a connection right here. I want to make sure that we don't damage this connection. You can see it right there. And we've removed all the bolts. We're going to go ahead and take out the huge bolts. There's one here. There's another one here. There's one more down here. And there are a whole bunch of smaller ones that are around here. They're probably all different sizes. So we have to be mindful of where they go. And the problem is there are two holes behind the water pump, and those holes are probably leaking. That's why we have coolant going into our engine oil. So we need to check that out and make sure that that's rectified. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these bolts out and take our water pump off. We're going to continue to use the same water pump, but we're going to reseal this and put it back on. So I ran out and bought a T45, and that goes into these big ones right here. I won't bore you with the process of removing the bolts, but I will point out a few things as I move along. This right here has to be removed before we proceed. There's another nut back here that we have to get to. This was tough to come out. When it came out, it looked like this. So it looks like there's a lot of material on the edge. Looks very corroded. It's possible that the previous owner used some sort of Loctite on here. So we'll go in and clean this off and reuse this bolt. For the 5/16 inverted nuts, we have one here. I'm going to call this top 1, 2, 3, 4, and from the bottom we have bottom 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's see if we got all the bolts. Yep, I think we did. There it is, it's coming out. And here it comes. Before you try to pull this out, make sure that these two bolts have been removed. I initially missed the lower one on the left. Yeah, it looks like our gasket was in rough shape. But the propeller looks good. It's gonna be cleaned up and put back in. I'm gonna reseal it. The water pump was working fine, but let's take a look at the engine side of things. There are two holes behind the water pump, one on the left and the other one on the right. These holes are coolant passageways, and they have a rubber grommet that prevents coolant from going into the engine. When these grommets get damaged, or in some cases get totally pushed out of their position, then coolant will start to leak into the engine compartment. Here's a closer look at the right hand upper passageway. Here is a zoomed in look. In the upper left hand corner of this rubber grommet, you could see that there is damage. So there's coolant getting past there, and the rubber grommet does not look like that usually. So that is ballooned. It's like oversized and degraded. Now let us take a look at the other side. This is the passageway for the lower left hand side of the water pump, and you can see that the grommet is totally missing. So the missing pieces are probably inside the engine. Hopefully it's not in any place that's going to damage the engine, but it is totally missing from here. Let's take a closer look. Okay, as I start to pull back, you could see the coolant temperature sensor right there, where I mentioned before that you have to be careful when you're taking out the water pump. Now that I know what the problem is, I'll order 2 new gaskets and I'll take this water pump into the garage and start cleaning it up. See you in the next video.